Here we have a pirate attack on the port of Tortuga, loosely based on the Pirates of the Caribbean films. We're using Legends of the High Seas rules by Warhammer Historical. Here we can see this game setting up with the pirate ships and the port of Tortuga being set up with the fortress on the left and on the right, and the landing jetty, the only access to the port of Tortuga. There will be plenty of treasure hidden around the port. There's also a small island out in the harbour which has some gold doubloons on as well for the pirates to hunt down. Here we see the British garrison in the fort here. The character of Elizabeth Swan is being held captive, which is one of the objectives for the pirates to free her. There's more of the British garrison lined up on the sea wall, waiting for the arrival of the pirates. Here we see some more of the British garrison occupying the fort with their artillery facing out into the harbour. Here's the town itself. As I say, there's plenty of gold doubloons hidden around the buildings. These are for the pirates to try and find. And here's the British guarding the entrance to the main fort. And here's the Royal Navy, who will be trying to defend the port against the combined forces of the pirates. And here we see the game starts off with the pirates moving towards the port, and here's the Royal Navy sailing to intercept them. Pirates form a loose alliance at the beginning of the game, hoping to take on the Royal Navy out in the harbour first and then move into the port. Here we see a couple of the pirate ships manoeuvring around the island, which may or may not have some doubloons on it. Unfortunately, this loose pirate alliance doesn't last very long, as one of the pirate ships decides to stern rake one of his so-called allies as they're moving around the island. Here we see the Royal Navy moving across to intercept the pirates that are trying to sneak down the edge of the table. And one of the pirate ships decides to land part of its crew just to have a quick search and see what is on the island. Once they're there, they actually do discover there's some gold doubloons that goes into their bank account. Here we see the artillery on the forts beginning to get ready for the arrival of the pirates. They should soon be within range. we see a couple of the pirate ships now getting pretty close to get into some ship-on-ship action with the Royal Navy. The British garrison artillery in the fort begins to open up and causing some damage on the on a couple of the pirate ships. Once they're out in the harbour, a couple of the pirate ships take quite a lot of damage, but also inflict quite a lot of damage on the Royal Navy as well, who to escape being sunk sail off the edge of the table. Here we see one of the pirate ships has now made it to the main jetty, and their crew disembarks and starts the assault on the port of Tortuga itself. The British garrison start taking shots at them as they run down the jetty, and the British commander also decides that it's sort of better to get his troops out and defend down at the jetty instead of waiting for the pirates to get to the forts. You will see a second pirate ship coming in alongside. Its crew will start disembarking into rowing boats and start heading for the shore. And here we see a couple of the rowing boats heading for the shore, beginning to look like Normandy landings. The pirates that have tried running down the jetty are coming into quite a lot of fire from the British holding the sea wall, but inevitably the sheer weight of pirate numbers that are landing from their rowing boats is going to start overwhelming the British garrison down on the shoreline. We see one of the pirate captains unfortunately losing most of his crew, and will end up having to make a solo charge down on an artillery piece that's sitting at the end of the jetty. One of the other pirate crews at this point has decided he's going to actually start fighting the pirate ship that's already on the jetty and getting his crew onto their ship. One of the special rules that was devised for this game, just to reflect the Pirates of the Caribbean flavour, was the pirates can turn into zombies on a turn, which meant that the opposing forces have to run away from them in fear. And unfortunately for the crew that attacked its pirate ally, it meant that all its crew had to jump overboard and into the bay. Here we see the British troops beginning to filter down to the shoreline. More British troops coming out of the other fort to reinforce the troops down at the shoreline as well. Plenty of musketry coming out of the fort onto the pirates that are still coming down the jetty. And here we see the fort monkey watching proceedings. See one of the pirate captains now sort of coming down the jetty. He's going to have to try and take on that artillery crew by himself. As more British garrison troops arrive as reinforcements. we see the pirates getting close to the shoreline, and the pirate captain now is engaging the artillery crew in close quarter combat. There's still the British garrison troops inflicting casualties on the pirates as they try and row to the shoreline. The fort is now also coming under fire from regular broadsides from the pirate ships still out in the bay, and the pirate captain's still down here in single combat with the artillery crew, which he's slowly winning. And here we see he's finally killed the last of the crew. And then he's instantly attacked by a couple of the British garrison, but with the backup of his crew that's coming up in rowing boats, he shouldn't have any trouble in fending them off. British still moving reinforcements down onto the shoreline as more and more pirates get closer to the shoreline to attack the sea wall. Pirates now beginning to get into the buildings and starting to search for the hidden doubloons. Pirate captain taking on British infantry with his crew now arriving out of the boats behind him. Here we see the pirates searching the buildings in the port of Tortuga one by one. And here we see the implementation of the rule again. One of the pirate crews becoming zombies who runs up the jetty and forces a pirate crew that he's fighting against to all jump into the sea. The pirates now storming the sea wall quite heavily, but they're taking steady casualties as they come on. Pirates are now getting into Port of Tortuga in strength. Unfortunately for the British garrison, their fort is now destroyed by a final broadside from one of the pirate ships, and it's more looting and ransacking of the town by the pirates who are desperately trying to find more and more doubloons. British are now getting down to the shoreline in numbers and start taking on the pirates with musketry. The sole remaining garrison artillery piece maintains its fire upon the pirate ships in the bay. Here we see the pirates. They've now pretty much taken the sea wall, getting ready to attack into the port itself, and beginning to take on the British infantry in hand-to-hand combat. British commander of the garrison still wants to try and keep his men away from the pirates and engage them with musket fire, which he does. and does actually manage to kill quite a few of the pirates on the sea wall. This means that the pirates' attack into the town is not quite as enthusiastic as it was at the beginning, as the casualties begin to mount, and the British are able to keep up a fairly continuous amount of musketry fire to keep the pirates from getting into the port. And here we see some more buildings being searched, and the pirate attack slowly starts to die down as their casualties mount, and the British garrison manages to hold them back. The pirate captain makes one last valiant attempt at attacking a couple of garrison troops, but unfortunately for the pirates, there's too much firepower from the British garrison, and they decide to retreat, which means the game ends as a victory for the British garrison at Tortuga.